Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to see me today. And this is the session that I've been wanting most to talk to people about for quite some time. Because although it sounds very Microsoft-centric, it's not. This is the experience from somebody who's worked with the FastTrack Center, rather than just talking about the Microsoft message. So, in today's session, using the FastTrack Center for a successful hybrid migration, I'm going to talk to you about how migrations have been changing over the last few years and what a migration perhaps looked like maybe 6 years ago and what it's like today. And what do you need for your FastTrack driven project to support a successful project? Do you just need one person to support it, or do you need a whole team around you? And what sort of things do you need to do versus what the FastTrack Center will help you do to perform your migration? This is really all about the things that you need to do and you need to be aware of versus what help you'll get from Microsoft to make your project a success. It's what they don't tell you. So has anybody, just a quick show of hands, has anybody done a project with the FastTrack Center so far? One there, a couple at the back over there. So about 20%. And is anybody about to start a project with the FastTrack Center? No, maybe a few on the way. Is anyone thinking, I don't need the FastTrack Center for my Exchange hybrid migration. I can do it by myself. One person over there. Are you hoping I will change your mind? I'm not going to try and change your mind. I'm just going to be honest. Because I've got customers who know their stuff and they say, I know what this gives me and I know what it doesn't. And I don't try and convince them otherwise. And I'm not going to, I know that you're smart enough to make that decision for yourself. But what I want to do is give you the right information so you can make that choice. So a lot of remediation steps. And there's a lot of things that we still have to do, and these are them. So one or two of those things the FastTrack Center will do for us, and those are the really valuable bits. So how are migrations changing? So back in the old days, not that long ago, but a while ago, and this is Office 365 days, right? This is not BPass, this is recent-ish history. Many of these Exchange migrations were breaking new ground, just getting everybody moved over successfully without the whole business complaining that email was now slow or migrations didn't happen at the right times or clients couldn't connect. That was a big success, getting a working client at the end of it. And a lot of these projects failed because they had bad advice from people, because everyone was doing this for the first time. Even people who had been working with BPass or perhaps live at Edu or experienced Exchange administrators. A lot of this was new, especially as bigger companies started to choose Office 365. And we went from smaller organizations with fewer sites to big global multinationals. So there was a lot that had to be learned as you go along because you were breaking new ground with each project. But you would get assistance from Microsoft because they wanted to help you move to the cloud. So they'd pay Microsoft partners some money to help customers move over. And that evolved over time into something called a FastTrack offering, where you'd get some funding as a partner to help your customer move mailboxes to the cloud, set things up and get things ready for them. And you'd get paid once they got 15% of mailboxes across. Not when the project was a success, you could walk away and leave them and you'd still get paid. So there was a lot of failed projects and Microsoft needed to do something to solve that. And these days, the FastTrack Center is kind of crucial to try and make sure that all that goes along the same path. A few projects were considered a success if you managed to get email across. And then perhaps there'd be a phase 2, where phase 2 would be SharePoint. But these days, Office 365 projects aren't a success based on that alone. Just email migrated isn't enough. It is a means to an end now. So we need to enable other services. If you went to the team session, the architecture session earlier in the week, you'll have seen the table. And you'll see in that table, really to get the best experience with Microsoft Teams, you need to have migrated your email for those users. So this is more getting the plumbing right before you enable other services. The project isn't about email as much as old Exchange admins like me would like it to be. We're trying to enable the rest of the Office 365 project to be a success. And that does mean that we need to think about that big picture, and we need to try and make this a really good project that will set the rest of the teams that are going to be working with perhaps a SharePoint project, OneDrive, Office rollout, or Teams, maybe Skype, so they have a really successful project that builds on what we've done. And the whole experience isn't sullied by terrible email migration that didn't work in a way that helped the business achieve what they needed. And although it is now just let's get the plumbing right, it doesn't make doing this any easier. Email hasn't suddenly got easier to migrate just because we've got a new hybrid configuration wizard. Well, not so new anymore. These things still need all the right due diligence in place. And a lot of the projects, a lot of the customers, if you're thinking about moving to Office 365 now, the chances are you've got more complex security requirements or more mailboxes or more geographies to deal with than the customers that moved back in 2011 and 2012. You've probably been having to do a lot of due diligence to get to this place. So it's not going to be a simple project. And to be honest, you could do with all the help that you can get. So many projects today, despite only 20% of you saying so, should be supported by the FastTrack Center. Every time a customer with over 150 licenses buys Office 365, they're entitled to use this service from Microsoft. And they can use it over and over again, and they can use it for more things than just email. But today, we're really focused on that. But it allows us to utilize their best practices so we can take on board their structure, their guidance and support during the mailbox migration, and as we start to do some of that planning. We've always got somebody on the Microsoft side who should be able to give us advice. And my experience dealing with the FastTrack Center is these include some ex-Exchange consultants who've been doing this for years. On one of the projects, the FastTrack engineer is a Microsoft certified master for Exchange. That isn't bad for free, really. That's somebody that you would pay a lot of money to have working on your project. They might not be doing all the custom stuff. They might be within a specific scope, but it's not bad help to have on hand. But, and this is what Microsoft, perhaps salespeople, maybe they do or maybe they don't say this, but they might say FastTrack will do it all for you. And that isn't true. What FastTrack don't do is come along and perform your mailbox migration. They don't come and install Azure AD Connect for you. They don't set up Exchange Hybrid for you and leave you to it. It doesn't reduce the amount of effort that you need to do to get everything ready to migrate your environment across. They don't come on site. There's a star there because maybe if you're the world's biggest company, you might see them on site, but generally you won't see FastTrack on site for your project because it is intended to be a service. It's a remote service where you're getting predefined consultancy. You're not getting custom consultancy from Microsoft. You're getting best practices that should apply to any organization moving to Office 365. And they point you at all the right documentation you need specific to your project. So if they believe that the right path for you will be a cutover migration, then they'll point you at that documentation to help you get things ready. If they believe hybrid will be the way for you, then they'll point you at that documentation. And then, and this is where it does get very valuable, especially if you've got lots of mailboxes to migrate, or you don't want to spend your evenings migrating mailboxes, they will perform the mailbox migrations for you. And that is, for some of my customers, one of the most valuable things in the whole project. And that's what's changed the way that we work at Content and Code. We don't need to have a team of people who are lower paid and less skilled, just turning the wheel on migrations. We can just focus on employing really good people that can help with all the challenges above that last point. So it can take a lot of effort if you're a customer, you're a Microsoft customer and you've bought Office 365, or you're a Microsoft partner and you need to help your customer move to the cloud. it can take a lot of effort to do that. And that's not a bad thing, because in the past, before FastTrack, there wasn't really a completely standard approach. People had came up with the fact that, yeah, you needed to plan things properly, get everything ready before you migrated, do all the right testing. But there wasn't anybody from Microsoft, unless you employed them to come and tell you, that would say this is the best way to do it. There was some online guidance. But really, if you employed somebody to help you migrate, or you wanted to start migrating, you might have to rely on guides that MVPs like myself have written, go to sessions at Ignite to learn the best ways, and then you might have to come up with your own approach appropriate to your company. So you might underestimate how complex it's going to be. You might say, well, Microsoft said we can do this in a weekend. But actually, it might take a lot more effort. And having a standard structured approach that you know is tried and tested is valuable by itself, regardless of the help you get from Microsoft. And the mailbox migration, it should be the easy bit. It's valuable to have somebody doing that migration for you, but that should be the easy bit. When you get to the point that you're moving people's mailboxes to the cloud, you should be so confident that it's going to work that you don't mind having somebody else outside of your company do it for you, because you know that that's going to work. You know that you can rely on giving them a batch of mailboxes to migrate, and that from your perspective, you won't be running around clearing up a mess the next day. So you need to spend this time. And the FastTrack approach is really any good consultant's approach for doing these projects right. It also helps bring back some of those projects as well, where they think it will take 3 years to migrate, and they think that everything is very complex within their business and they are unique. And of course, there are organizations where, yes, they have very unique requirements. Things like the multi-geo that was announced this week wouldn't exist otherwise. But in general, this is achievable. It can be done. It's been done probably for an organization like yours, and it's been done within the year. And the FastTrack Center do say, we're going to help you for a year. You can maybe ask them to help you a little bit longer, but it shouldn't take more than a year, start to finish, for the majority of projects, to get everything ready and migrate to Office 365, or at least migrate the email. So what do they do? And I'm going to go relatively quickly through these slides, because I'm sure if you want to get all the marketing pages and all the marketing slides from the FastTrack Center, you can do so. And they're the best people to talk about what they do. They do the core onboarding. So they'll give you the advice to set up things like Azure AD. They'll tell you to run things like ID Fix to check your Active Directory doesn't have lots of errors. Service onboarding is to help you enable things like Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive for Business. So in this context, it's helping you get ready and telling you the things you need to do to get things like Exchange Hybrid in place. Giving you a list of remediation actions, for example. And what will they migrate? So they'll migrate from all sorts of different versions. So if you're still running something very old, like Exchange 5.5, maybe not. But if you're running something fairly common, like Exchange 2007 or Exchange 2010, then you'll get assistance. And best of all, some of these are third-party products that they'll help with as well. And I'll cover that a little bit more in a bit. But if you think about how much it costs to buy some of the tooling to migrate from Google Suite or Domino, then you might find that this is a very valuable offering, if it does what you need. So the core onboarding is helping you run tools like ID Fix. But you'll also get a list of remediation tasks. And this is Microsoft's assessment of what you need to do to get to the minimum state required within your Active Directory so you can use anything in Office 365. And that might be cleanup of tasks based on what the ID Fix tool shows that's wrong with your Active Directory. It might be that you need to upgrade the forest functional level in your environment. It might be that you need to find and deploy some new servers to be ready to synchronize your objects to the cloud. So it's helping you understand what those tasks are going to be. And the tasks that you might need to perform for the email migration as well. And in this case, it is, what's wrong with your source server? Do you need to patch it? Do you need to install the latest update rollup, service pack, or cumulative update before you can do any of this? Do you need to create some custom firewall rules or buy some certificates. It's not designing it for you, but it's telling you the minimum things that you need to do. And things that can be for migrating those third-party systems as well. And IMAP servers are probably the least ones that we see with the FastTrack Center, and the most common workload I see in the UK is Google Suite migrations. And they're made a lot easier with the FastTrack Center because third-party tools are very expensive to migrate that content with full fidelity. And they've got a lot of expertise doing that part of the migration for you. And adoption. Now this is a newer thing that they brought in within the last year or so, where what they need to do, and what you might not understand, is there's some additional work needed after moving people's mailboxes to the cloud to help them make the most of the new services that they've got. Now, they aren't, again, and I repeat this, they're not a custom consultancy service. So if you're embarking on a digital transformation project, then you might need something a little bit more specialized to your organization. So you might need to do user research to understand the kind of problems and challenges that people have on a day-to-day basis within your business. You might, for example, need to understand how people are struggling with emails being sent to them all the time from all over the place, and how that could be solved with something like Teams or distribution groups that are just being used to reply all the time and have conversations that might live better in groups or Yammer. And that's different to what we're looking at here, but where the FastTrack Center will give you basic guidance that will help your teams, like your comms teams, internal marketing and so on, understand how you can let people know what's changing. And you'll find these today on the FastTrack Center's web pages, on fasttrack.microsoft.com, and you can use these whether or not you take these offerings from Microsoft. And the data migration is, as I said, the most valuable part of this, where if you have tens of thousands of mailboxes, it's a lot of work to schedule, plan, and get ready, look for errors, and then at the right time, in the middle of the night, across different time zones, switch those mailboxes across. And when the FastTrack Center's offering for this was first launched, this is where Microsoft partners that had built a business around just turning the wheel on migrations were very unhappy. But I think it's a good thing because it is a simple thing to do. And having Microsoft do this for you takes a big chunk out of the effort in your project and lets you focus on the tasks you need to do to get things ready for the migration. Focus on the things you're going to have to do after they migrate. The interesting bit isn't doing the data migration itself. It's doing all the other things after you've migrated. And that's what you can focus your time and money on. If you're looking to buy Office 365, you don't want to pay $150,000 just to have someone press go on a migration each night for the next 6 months. You want to focus that resource elsewhere. And that's what this enables you to do. And it is very, very valuable for services like Google Suite. So if you were moving from G Suite and you didn't have the FastTrack Center, you would need to buy a third-party tool or do a very basic IMAP migration. And there's lots of vendors out there that sell really, really good tools that allow you to perform that migration. And they do more than the FastTrack Center tools. They allow multiple passes of data. They coordinate the switch of mail across. They move from services like Google Vault. And Microsoft's tools don't do all of that. But we've had some very successful projects where the FastTrack Center have set up the tooling in their service so they get, and in these cases, they set the tools up on their end, and you give them things like the service accounts to pull the data out. So they do a lot more when it comes to these third-party tools. And again, with Domino, they provide the tooling that you would otherwise need to pay for from a third-party vendor. The third-party vendors, including the ones that supply the FastTrack Center, do tools that do so much more, like coexistence of calendaring, full mailbox and archives migrated across. So it's limited, but it may be good enough to get you over the hump and migrate. It is very valuable when it comes to third-party tools. What you then give to the FastTrack Center is the migration windows. You tell them when you want to migrate. You give them that information in advance, and on the lead time to that migration itself, you can change and add things into different windows. But it's up to you, ultimately, to determine who you migrate and when. You need to understand who you're going to migrate, what day you're going to migrate them on, and work out how long that migration is likely to take. If it's a 100 gig mailbox, plan them all together so the FastTrack Center have enough time to start the migration for you and end it on the right day. The FastTrack process is like any other Exchange Online migration project should be. The project starts, it kicks off, everybody has a meeting, and we all work out what we're going to do. We do some assessment. We discover what there is in the environment, what is the challenge that we're taking place. We need to fix things before we can actually start migrating. And enable is where we do implementation. We might have to put in a new server to enable hybrid, or we might have to run a wizard. We might have to go and implement new SSL certificates. And then the migration itself is where on your side, on the customer or partner side, you have to do all the stuff on the user side. So making sure that you've communicated with them to tell them the migration is happening. Went around and changed their mobile device or updated the settings on the mobile devices. Maybe reconnect Outlook if it's a migration from a third-party system and set that up to work with Exchange. So all those kind of tasks outside of the migration itself. But it's going through a process. And having a process is very, very important. Having that structure is key. So what do? They provide remote support. This is from their page, by the way. This is, I'm not going to write it out and then be told I'm wrong by Microsoft afterwards. They provide remote support assistance to you for planning, development and implementation, and for the required configuration activities as detailed in the phase descriptions. They provide the documentation, they provide some software tools and scripts to help you reduce or eliminate configuration tasks and success planning resources. That's probably the least clear description of a service I've ever read. But basically, it says that they're not doing all of this other work for you. And the point of reference is that URL at the bottom there. If you search for Microsoft FastTrack Center onboarding benefits on Bing, you'll find that page. And that expands to show you everything that they will do and everything they won't do. Because you've got a lot of responsibilities in this. Here's some bullet points that I've created just to give you the short version of it. But your responsibilities include running assessment tools that they give to you, performing your own assessment out of the limited scope of FastTrack. You need to set up and configure everything yourself in your Office 365 tenant. You need to fix anything that goes wrong in your Active Directory, Exchange environment. You need to solve anything within your network, desktop clients, mobile clients, and more. You need to perform all this configuration yourself. Azure AD Connect, Exchange hybrid configuration. You need to perform all your testing. You need to test that this works. You need to perform your pilot migrations. You need to perform all your communications with your users. You need to plan your migration itself, and you have to be the person, or your team have to be the people going around doing all the floor walking. This is this is why I couldn't fit it all on one slide, right? This would have been like 12 slides just on this. So I made a animated GIF to go through it. But there's a few bits, right? That's Microsoft's description of what we have to do. So we know we've got a lot of stuff to do. We're going to get this project started. It's going to be a big success. We need a project that's going to support this within the business, supported by the business. So depending on the size of the migration, you might need to get a big team together to manage this project. In some cases, if you're the IT person, then you'll need to then that might just be you. You won't have a team. You might need a bit of help, but it could just be you performing this end to end. The FastTrack might be your lifeline to keeping you on track, but it could just be you. But most organizations I would work with, so from about 500 people upwards to many thousands, will have a project manager assigned to the project, and there'll be technical staff from each area. So AD specialists, Exchange specialists, networking specialists, security team, and so on. And from a reasonably early phase in the project, before we start doing stuff, getting comms teams involved as well, so we can start framing what this is going to look like. So FastTrack or not, planning and good project management are critical to success. That's to success of any project. And this next slide is the one that I show every customer on our first day. This is slightly different in terms of the way that it's not got our company logos on and stuff, but this is probably the most important slide. And when I show them this, I say, this is the most important slide, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Delays in implementing prerequisites, that's the biggest delay to being able to get everything ready, where you might rely on a third-party supplier to create a firewall rule for you, or you might need to order some new hardware to be able to do this project, and it might get delayed. There might be a security risk identified, and we've got to go and discuss that. So we might assume it might take a few weeks to start actually doing stuff after doing the design and so on. But it can actually sometimes take a lot longer. So that's the number one thing where projects certainly tend to take longer than you'd expect. And you want to identify where those delays are very, very, very early on. So if, for example, you're running Exchange 2007, I know it's out of support, and you think, right, Office 365 is the answer, but a hybrid migration is likely to be useful to you, and you've got to order in some new kit to be able to support that, or build out virtual machines, and you think it's going to take a long time. Knowing about that early on in your project, identifying that, can help you solve that problem well in advance if you've got a rough idea of what you might need to do, even if you haven't fully fleshed out what the detail of that is going to be. A lack of project governance, support for this project. What is the purpose of it? And who is the sponsor of the project? Is it the business? Is it IT? You need to make sure that you've got good project governance in place and support. And third-party delays. Other people outside of this project that are going to affect it. Post-migration, issues with user adoption, client issues, user experience issues. You have to be aware that the distance between your server and the client is going to be much shorter than the distance between the Office 365 data center and your client. Although there's a lot of things they've done to optimize that, there still might be some difference, especially with things like shared mailboxes, when they access Office 365 compared to accessing it in your local data center that could even be in the same building as your users. So user adoption, making sure that the expectations are set correctly is very important. And understanding, this is why bringing the comms people in is important early on, understanding that this is something that can go very wrong and mitigating against it early on is very important. And as anybody that's worked on a long-running IT project probably are aware of, things change within the business around you. And if this is likely to be a long-running project, then something else might come along that takes people away from focusing on your project. There might be a merger, acquisition, all sorts of things can happen. In general, we want to get a set of project roles and responsibilities in place. So you might need to understand what you're going to bring to the project, what resource you're going to align to it from your side, which might be a project manager, program manager, somebody who will be the architect for the solution. Again, I understand that for some of you that will all be you. And so in many organizations, these are combined together. So infrastructure SMEs will also be the Office 365 architect. But often there will be somebody who is responsible for the vision of what this is going to be outside of Office 365. And then people who are specialists in their particular areas, which again might be Exchange and AD or Exchange and Skype for Business. But people who are going to be the point person for these activities, such as remediation activities, network activities, and so on. For the migration itself, we're going to rely on the service desk. They will be the people, the first line of support when people say, I can't get email on my mobile device the day after you migrate their email. There might be issues with permissions or something like that to a mailbox that get lost rarely. And they'll be the conduit to providing you, as the project team, the issues that you need to resolve for users very, very quickly to make sure that the experience is good. So all these people need to be involved in the project. They can't be ancillary people that you involve way, way down the line. You need to help train people up. You need to communicate with them. You might not start the comms to users now because you haven't defined exactly what's coming and when, but they need to be aware that at some point you're going to start saying, right, we need to start launching Office 365 and come up with the activities you're going to do to support that. On the Microsoft side, it's fairly clear. You generally get the FastTrack manager, who is similar in a way to a resource or project manager, in that they make sure that the project is managed from a FastTrack side in some sort of way. They don't manage your side of it at all, but they make sure that the resources you need are going to be available to you. The FastTrack engineer is on an Exchange migration to the cloud project, is your Exchange engineer on call. They're the person that can give you the advice on where to look for guides on setting up hybrid and give you advice on the remediation tasks. And the migration engineers are the people who will turn the wheel on that migration itself. So, assessing your environment. Microsoft will provide you some of the guidance that will help you with this. So they will provide you some of the tools, and you can get to this yourself, such as the health readiness and connectivity tests. These tools will perform some tests from your environment to see how ready you are. You'll need to go and collect things like site information, location information, so you can understand the topology of your network for where your users are and how they're going to connect into Office 365. Check out the sessions on best practices for connectivity to Office 365 earlier in the week. They're critical to making sure that this is done correctly. And you'll need to collect this information to support that. You need to get information about your environment as well, both from an Active Directory and Exchange perspective, but also about the clients that are connecting, domain joined clients with Outlook, Macs, mobile devices, and so on. The health and readiness connectivity tests, they're from Microsoft. And the idea is that these will find some settings in the environment that can cause problems. So you run it within your own LAN, and you have to run it with admin rights, and it provides this report. You use that and you give it back to Microsoft, and you'll have somebody that can help you pick out the areas that need resolving. Things that you don't get told to go and get are areas like this. So office locations and site locations, the number of devices, the number of clients you've got at each site, where are your local internet breakouts? Do you have those, or do things funnel out through one or two central locations? What is the WAN connectivity like within the organization? If you've got Exchange on multiple sites, how are they fronted to the internet? And are you going to be able to move mailboxes across the WAN and out? Are you using proxy servers to connect to the internet at the moment? They're not that good with Exchange. And getting some of the performance information as well. So the support and recovery assistant for Office 365 has some network test information within it. Hidden deep within the advanced diagnostics, you can do a Exchange online connectivity test. And you do this from the workstation side, from the client side, just to check that connectivity is in place and it works. It's a good way of making sure that even if you think things should work, that they do. And you can still run some of the older FastTrack network analysis tools, which, warning here, they do require Java to be installed, but they provide some good information. And information about your Active Directory. So, forest names and domain names. If you've got multiple forests, all with Exchange in, this could be quite a complicated project. If you've got a resource forest model, then again, this is going to be interesting. Sites and subnets, how do those align to what you've got in the organization at the moment? Domain, forest functional levels, trust relationships, previous migrations perhaps that you've done that might have history sitting around in your environment. Do you have federation servers at the moment that you're using, ADFS in place? And what's the formats for things like the usernames? Do you have UPNs that are using something like a .local suffix that might need to be changed? And collecting information about your Exchange environment. There's reports out there, like my one on the screen there, an Exchange environment report, which gathers a lot of that information for you, such as average mailbox sizes, Exchange versions and patch levels, so you can quickly get an idea of the task at hand. I always find this useful, even with FastTrack projects, just so I can get a view of the environment. What are we migrating from and where? So you can have a report online that shows you that. There's some great stuff from other people, like other MVPs, like Paul Cunningham, who runs Practical 365, who does a lot of great tools which can collate all this information for you very quickly. It's much easier than screenshotting it or running PowerShell scripts to grab it from your environment. And what third-party systems have you got in place that need to be considered as part of this? Do you have Enterprise Vault or a solution for fax send and receiving within your organization? What other things integrate into the environment that you need to be aware of? There's often at least one thing. Often there's very, very many, but it may be signature software that you've got to replace. Really, you need to understand all the dependencies, because this is where the long lead times on replacing and migrating things will come from. Some of this can be done outside of the FastTrack project itself. In a lot of cases, your enterprise archive can be migrated once this project is finished, but you almost certainly need to be aware that it's there and understand what impact this will have on both the project itself, but things like the user experience. Office clients. So if you've got something like System Center, then you're going to have a lot of this information readily available to you. You can use some of the other tools that Microsoft provides. So the MAP, the Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit, can be used to deploy agents to understand what you've got out there. It's generally aimed at the Office upgrade, but that might be something that you need to do first. And you can use scripts. If you need to just get a high cut of build levels, then you can use scripts to interrogate the log files on the Exchange servers and see who and what clients are connecting. And the information stored in those log files will tell you the build number that they're running, which you can then correlate with the minimum build numbers required to use Exchange Online. So you can get some of this information very quickly with techniques like the last one, but you can gain a lot more insight by using some of these more intelligent tools to gather the information, because it might be that you're running something like Office 2010, which is compatible, but it might limit the functionality during your migration, such as shared mailbox access, and you might want to consider an Office upgrade as part of this. So, things you need to fix. Remediation is not all about fixing things, though. Do you need a design? Do you need adoption activities? And then focus on the prerequisites. Now, you might not need a design. Not every organization moving to Office 365 needs a 100-page design document planning this out. If you've got something very simple like this, you've got an Exchange server, it's published to the internet via a NAT mapping back to port 443 with port 25 enabled, and you think this is just simple, it's going to stay as it is until we've migrated, then you might not need a full design. You just might need a plan, and a good plan. But if it looks something like this, then you probably do. And this is an altered version of one customer with regions all over the world. Not a massive environment, but a reasonable sized environment with a variety of Exchange versions. And for larger environments, when you do have multiple servers and you've got lots of dependencies, then you almost do need to consider what you need to design out. And it might be that it's not the migration you're designing for, it's the additional services that support it. Like you might need to add additional security functionality to make sure that only your devices can connect to Exchange Online. For example, using something like conditional access. So there's a lot of things that might come outside of this. Retention policies as well. Those are all outside of the FastTrack scope and remit. The adoption activities are generally run by a success workshop. And there it is. You've seen it now. And they are going to help you plan the activities that you might need to do. It is high level, but it will give you the basics you need. But all of the resources are available on the FastTrack site. The remediation tasks are going to be provided by Microsoft. And this is where something might have gone wrong in your environment that needs to be resolved. But it will almost certainly be the common tasks that have to be done on every project, like firewall rules. They'll give you this custom list of activities that you need to perform. And this will be unique to your organization, based from a checklist of very, very many tasks filtered down specifically for you. This is very, very useful because it gives you a Microsoft sanction list based on some analysis of your own environment that gives you a starting point for things you know you've almost certainly got to resolve before you can move mailboxes to the cloud, run Exchange Hybrid. Any of that, you need to do these things first. So you've done all your stuff, it's all ready. You've tested that your firewall walls are in place, ports are open, SSL certificates are in place then. We're not going to tell you how to do all this stuff though. This is not the install Azure AD Connect session or run the hybrid configuration session. This is the good bit that FastTrack have told you the things you need to do here, and you've listened to their advice. They've given you the right advice that's helped you understand how to do all this stuff. They've pointed you at the right information to run the hybrid configuration wizard and make it work. They'll even help you with multi-forest scenarios, complex scenarios like resource forests, things that you would need some of the best consultants in the world to do just a few years ago. They will help you with. FastTrack will direct you, though, at the right guides. The things they won't support, though, are configuring and managing modern authentication. So very new services that Microsoft have came up with to enable better authentication to Office 365. They won't help you enable that. They won't enable you to, they won't help you configure as ADFS. You're on your own if you set that up, unless you're a very large customer, you've bought a large number of licenses. If you're going to use some additional policies outside of the basics, they won't help you with those in any circumstances. If you're looking to use Azure AD Premium functionality, then again, that's a different FastTrack offering where there might be some help available, but you might need to think this up for yourself. If you've got voicemail in your environment with Skype for Business, then you might need some help there as well. Some organizations have public folders. Quick show of hands, has anyone still got public folders? Again, you're going to need to think of a solution for this. It might be one of the third-party solutions available for public folder migration from BitTitan or Quadratech, or it might be a native migration using the built-in Microsoft tools. And again, this is an area where you need to look at those options yourself. I've just published an ebook on that topic, so grab a copy of that from my blog if you're interested. But public folders is a massive topic for many customers, and the FastTrack Center are going to generally support you with that. And hybrid for the long term. After you finish the migration, you might need to keep the hybrid server around to manage your users in Active Directory, because things like the list of email addresses that a user has, their proxy addresses and aliases, they are still managed within your local Active Directory. And to be supported by Microsoft, you need to run an Exchange server on premises. And again, they won't provide support long-term for managing and keeping that up to date with patches. If you've got multiple organizations out there, they'll help with the multi-forest scenarios, but synchronizing those forests together, again, that's down to you. And all the third-party products as well, like enterprise archives, many, many more things. You're on your own. And you need to come up with a solution for those, perhaps in parallel or perhaps after. But assuming you get all that stuff in place and you're ready, then you need to do testing. So before you can move one mailbox, you need to test that everything works. If your CEO says, I want to be first on board, CIO wants to be first on board, just say no. Don't do it. Wait and test everything until you're 100% sure before moving even a secretary's mailbox. Oh, that's the worst one. But before you move anybody's mailbox, test everything you can. So test the core services. So Azure AD Connect, making sure that directory synchronization works as you would expect, making sure the hybrid functionality works as well. So making sure that FreeBusy works between Office 365 and on premises, making sure that things like out-of-office replies work correctly. That will point at a lot of underlying issues in your environment if you receive external out-of-office replies when you send a message from somebody on the other side of the cloud divide. It should all appear as an internal email. And have a look at the use cases for your internal devices. So if you have domain join machines, off domain join machines, mobile clients, making sure you test what the experience is like when you move test mailboxes first before you try it with any users. And test migration throughput, and that might be with leavers mailboxes, or it might be with test mailboxes as part of the project team that you can use. quick list of those here. And if you're having to do some of the extra bits, then public folder access and coexistence, if you've got it configured. And you should be testing in all the scenarios that you expect an end user to encounter. So if that is those domain joined clients, what versions are they running? If you've got multiple versions of Office deployed, if you've got a Citrix environment out there, then you'll need to make sure that you've done, in some cases, much more than just testing. You might find a lot of things that don't work as expected. So don't just say, well, we're mostly Office 2016. Test the 2010 clients, test the legacy clients. Don't test it in a fresh workstation. Test it using your current build for devices. And for migration throughput, then you're looking to test both the limits of Exchange Online on premises, but also in the cloud as well. Because both sides will have their own limitations, because migration throughput isn't just about how fast your servers can push it to Office 365 or how much bandwidth you've got available. It's also how busy the Microsoft service is as well. It will throttle back migrations based on how many clients are connected, because the user experience will come before your migration. So it's worth being aware what your real life overall performance will be, because just because you've got a gig of bandwidth doesn't mean your migration will work at a gig. It might work at 10 megasecond based on all the various things around it. And that will help you plan when you're going to migrate, because you need to know how long it will take to move 10 gig mailboxes to Office 365. And then you need to use that to plan the migration itself, because you might need to start the pre-synchronization maybe a couple of weeks in advance of the actual switch of the mailboxes themselves. And if you've got a set of test mailboxes, then remember, you can move mailboxes to test, you can move them back and forward. Going to the cloud isn't one way. With a hybrid migration, you'll be able to move the mailboxes back and re-perform your tests. So, you need to plan your migration and all the user communications that sit around it. So some organizations, where possible, will try and do a big bang migration. So you want to move, ideally, as quickly as possible, because the faster you can migrate your mailboxes, the less problems you're likely to experience with things like calendar sharing, shared mailbox access, and so on. And those are the areas that you have to deal with. So if you've got a few thousand mailboxes, you might find that the majority of those might get migrated in 1 or 2 batches, rather than smaller batches of 100. But sometimes, if you're replacing desktops at the same time, that might not be the case. But whatever approach you take, you'll need to plan this out first with some sort of a technical pilot, and then a full pilot with some real users that's representative of the migration itself. And to support that, you need to get the right information from your environment. So you need to understand your user base and the third-party systems they use, for example, the HR system, service desk system, and that'll give you the full picture on what the user base looks like. So the pilot itself, the technical pilot or a pre-pilot, is first a smaller group of people. They're often part of the project team, and they're going to provide some useful feedback, because they're the people you might be training up on how to do the migration or work on the migration itself, support users' needs, and you'll be able to give them that first pass on the user communications and see what the feedback is, see what perhaps needs to be altered before you actually try this with some users outside of your team itself. So it is often an IT-based pilot, and that's why it's not the proper pilot, because it isn't representative. When you're planning the migration itself, you do need to get the right information out. And this, again, is one of those areas that the FastTrack Center will provide some scripts to help you gather some of this information, but not all of it. So you need to understand the mailbox sizes for individual users, the item counts that they've got, just to give you a picture of what the scale of the task is for those migration batches. Client and versions in use. So if you've got any SMTP clients that use EWS that you need to take into account. Shared mailboxes and permissions are crucial for planning your migration, especially if you've got older clients like Outlook 2010. You need to understand where the gaps of sharing with calendars, delegates are as well within the organization. Often you will migrate PAs and their managers together as part of this migration. It will be core for you to do that. Otherwise, they will have a broken user experience. And often people like PAs will manage the calendars of multiple executives in the organization. So they will cause trouble because they will be at the intersection of all the relationships for sharing within your org. And if you've got other systems as well, usage of unified messaging, are you going to have to perform post-migration tasks yourself to reconfigure things like voicemail? Is there anything to take into account like a previous cross-forest migration? We've had some customers where permissions are granted on SID history or are still attached via SID history, and those aren't replicated to the cloud. And there's going to be people in your organization that support these users as well. And they'll have some input as well. You might have the service desk with a VIP list of users who aren't necessarily important, well-paid executives, but actually they're the people that hold the actual organization together, and they'll be the first person to shout when things go wrong. And factor in that information and consolidating that together is where you end up with your plan. So you have the data that you get from various different systems, including FastTrack scripts to pull off information about your various other systems, third-party systems and so on. And then you have that VIP type information, that local knowledge from IT that you'll factor in to get your migration batches and plan those out. So we've got Exchange Hybrid in place perhaps, or we've got our Google Suite in coexistence, and we need to get some help performing the migration itself. So we use these batches that we create to define and instruct the FastTrack Center's velocity migration team. They're the people that will turn the wheel on the migration itself. And they have specific slots, as you can see up here, that will ask them to perform the migration in. And we've got a lot of options. We've got more options than your team is likely to have. If you're performing this migration itself, then you'll probably have a few slots that you want to migrate. It might be before you leave, or after you've got home and before you go to bed, or first thing in the morning. Maybe you're a little bit more flexible than that. But the FastTrack Center are able to work across the globe. They're able to work on a 24 hours a day basis. So we've got flexibility in when we perform our migrations. And that can be very useful if you've got a set of users that work across different time zones, perhaps if you're a multinational organization. And if you're smaller, then this still works as well. But all the end user comms is down to you. And again, I can't stress that enough. You must send the email out to the user saying, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to migrate your mailbox. Look out. 7 days' time, we're going to move your mailbox. Don't forget you're going to need to reconfigure your mobile device. Tomorrow it's happening, get ready. Those kind of emails, follow-up emails to say, is everything working okay? Let us know if it's not. Here's some tips to get started with Office 365 groups. This kind of thing is for you to do. They are part of your team. They're not running the show for you. But they will do some things that make this a lot easier for you. And this is some of the, scheduling migration batches isn't tough, but just doing all the checks on every single user that you're ready to migrate is a little bit harder. So they'll be able to check a few things for you. So does the mailbox that you've picked to migrate, does that have a license assigned? It's very easy to miss. And if you're using some of the compliance features for retention holding in Office 365, then that could put you at serious risk of breaching compliance policies, because you might move a mailbox, it might work, but it won't have all the right supporting things attached to it without the license. Has everything synchronized correctly to Office 365? Are we missing any proxy addresses that might needed to have been added first? For example, if somebody didn't have an email address policy assigned, do they need to go and have an additional proxy address added? Or were there any mailbox items larger than configured limits? Have we got to go back and raise some limits or ask the user to remove the items? So are there some user-specific remediation tasks to perform? And they'll provide you some information about precinct failures as well. And this is all information you can get yourself, but you have to extract this information from the environment. It doesn't do it for you. And the FastTrack Center are adding some value there, where they'll tell you about corrupted items in the mailbox, or perhaps a failure with your on-premises environment that you need to go and resolve. I hope the first call you get when your Exchange environment doesn't go down isn't the FastTrack Center saying, Do you know your Exchange server stopped working? But they'll tell you if there's potentially an issue. And you'll get a report afterwards that tells you what worked and what didn't work. So your migration is finished. That was easy. I've just done it. They did it for us. What do we have to do next? Well, we need to do cleanup and decommissioning. So I said before, you'll need this hybrid server to stick around for just a little bit longer, in some cases, in others forever, to manage all your mailbox attributes. So if you are planning after your migration to keep Azure AD Connect in place, to synchronize your local Active Directory to Office 365, then you'll still need that hybrid server, and you might decommission all your other Exchange servers. You might get rid of your Exchange 2010 server and put a fresh virtual machine running Exchange 2016 in place instead, but you'll still need it there to manage those Office 365 users, to create a new user account in AD, to set an email address for it, and to set most of its Active Directory defined attributes. It can also help if you've got on-premises relay requirements as well. So if you need to if you run photocopiers and so on, and you need to be able to relay mail out of the environment somehow, then it's quite simple to move your existing receive connector configuration from your old Exchange servers across to the hybrid server. So it can do things like an authenticated relay. But if you don't need to run Azure AD Connect, and you don't want to have this hybrid server sitting around, then you could use the Exchange Online inbound connectors. They allow an authenticated relay. Or you could use a small server running IIS's SMTP service. If it's SMTP relay, then an Exchange server isn't a requirement. But if you do need to keep one, you'll still need to patch that server. The requirements from Microsoft are that you keep that hybrid server patched to the latest patches, the latest update roll-up or the latest cumulative update. As one is launched, then you should update that server. So if you are a 2010 organization and you rarely update, then get ready with perhaps your 2016 hybrid server to do the effective of running a service pack every 3 months on the server. The good news and the big difference is if that goes wrong, then you don't need to worry about it affecting users because they won't be connecting to that Exchange server on a day-to-day basis. So if perhaps the service pack fails and you need to roll back, then you can be confident that users will still be able to access Office 365. But you do need to keep it. And even though the FastTrack migration might be over, it might be just the beginning of a much larger project. And in many cases, you might have the public folders now to tackle, or you might be starting an enterprise archive migration project. You might have to reconfigure these application servers to reduce your reliance on on-premises servers. And of course, what Office 365 services are you going to be using next? Finally, the last thing I wanted to leave you with is, and this is always, for an Exchange admin audience, always a bad idea to mention that I use Yammer, but I use Yammer to crowdsource from our company some of the tips and tricks. This isn't filtered for Microsoft's pleasure, I should add. This is their real-life tips that they would like to give to you to help you have a successful migration, things you should know about. If they could tell you in the room today one thing, it would be this. Mosin says you need to schedule these migration batches 2 weeks in advance, and you can only update, add, remove users from a batch up to 3 days before the migration. So planning in advance is very important. You don't have the flexibility to do it several times if you make mistakes. Did I say planning was important? That is his tip to you. Mike, one of our architects who's actually here this week, this is the one I was most nervous about putting on the screen here. The FastTrack Center made an error on their batching list, and there was a large number of users that weren't cut over when our customer expected. So you might need to double check that things worked as planned. And in this case, we had to provide some assistance and manually cut the batch over. So we didn't need to reschedule that migration with the FastTrack Center. And from Ben, our manager, head of technology enablement at Content and Code. When planning a migration, don't assume that the FastTrack Center will support brand new capabilities in Office 365, particularly those in preview. And that he's thinking of a particular project where this caught the customer out because they didn't realize that Microsoft wouldn't support this. Always confirm with your FastTrack Center manager that they will support that new, brilliant new feature that you're looking to use. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. And if you've got any questions, just grab me at the front.